You have direct experience of the creative source of your creativity. We have religious people who might say, well, then I know I'm talking to God. They said exactly that, but you won't hear him. He won't give you any revelation. But it's impossible that you, at this moment, don't experience the tremendous responsibility of knowing that you are communicating directly with the first creative act, which is the sole source of your own creativity. For example, the moment you are running, how do you perceive the effort? Because you think about it. It's because your legs hurt, isn't it? Pain is the effect of effort and not the effort itself. Isn't that it? So you only perceive the effort because you are performing it. Is that really perceiving yourself as a force? No. As always, you are a recipient of thought, of sensations and differences. Because a good way to do this is to keep your mind occupied with something that can continue to be done in the most automatic, unthinking way possible to, in a way, defend you from the flow of thought that attracts you. And evidently, prayer serves very well for this. So, little by little you are praying Our Father. I'm going to say Mary because we have terms that are not Catholic. But what are you saying? You're praying the Lord's Prayer? Even Muslims can pray the Lord's Prayer. So, you know the words of the Lord's Prayer, and you don't need to think them to recite one. You can keep reciting it indefinitely without needing to think. So, this repetition creates around your center of attention a protective layer against the flow of thoughts. Of any thought, what madness! You think about the debt you have to pay, right? You think about your hemorrhoids. You think about naked women. You think about anything, okay? The word duration? They bring you back and say, no, that's not important. That's not what it's about. And you? So, in the center of this circle that you create, like a spinning disc, in the center is your perception, the perception you have of the same thing, as a creative agent who freely decided to do that prayer at that moment. And everything you can do, you chose this? I'm going to the center of myself, and there I'm going to keep repeating the prayer. I understand. How does this work? Well, at this moment, some might say, some people who are very religious, maybe, but he's telling us not to pay attention to the rush, to test and pay attention to something that is at the center of the rush, which is precisely what I'm saying. Because if I'm going to, for example, pray the Lord's Prayer thinking about the symbolic theological meaning of each word, the first Our Father I'm going to do will take about 2.5 years. And obviously this will create, but it's a movement of thought that I can no longer control because I'm going by association of ideas. So I am telling you this is for you to pray without paying attention to the red. It's because there's something at the center of it. That's at the center, your creative intention, which freely decided to pray. Do you understand how that works? So he might say, well, this isn't a religious way for us to pray. No priest taught me this anymore. I say, well, I don't know, but I'm not here to catechize you. But okay, he has a commitment. He teaches some techniques, philosophical doctrine. And this teaching, I know it works. And then there's the following. When you reach that center of yourself and everything that's going on in your mind, in your body, no longer matters. And you are firmly anchored by that day. But the exact word, because of isn't exact, firmly centered on, right, on this focus of your own creative activity. So you are at the center of yourself, right? And it's impossible. And at that instant, you're not connected to the creative center of all things. So, at this instant, you have the direct experience? Yes, of the creative source of your creativity. In religious terms, you could say, well, then I know I'm talking to God. That's exactly it. You won't hear him. You won't. He won't give you any revelation, okay? But it's impossible. Seriously, at this instant, you don't have the experience of the tremendous responsibility of knowing that you are communicating directly with the first creative act, which is a unique source of your own creativity. And that's why, further on, you'll see here that this experience is accompanied by an intense emotion, perhaps the strongest of all emotions, near which all other emotions become even more subtle. The channels you observe from the outside, you can't persist in that state. Did you hear? It only lasts a few moments. That is, if you were a saint, if you were the priest, or if I were the day, if you would stay there. A good half hour, right? We stayed like that for a minute. 2 minutes later, you came back to, because your creative act is limited. Your capacity to create yourself is limited by your physical, historical, cultural, social, etc. conditions that surround you with obstacles. Obstacles that, as Layla Velez says, are also the instruments of your self-realization in the world. 1. And so, this experience, including the concentration on your creative force, it will automatically transmute into a second question, which is who will you be in the world? 1. And what is that? That is a problem of vocation, which is precisely what is being discussed. Or have I already brought Barron into this text?